Now, we have this next question, which I'll get up on the screen. And this is more, I think, philosophical in terms of, what will we do? And we'll read it right now. Hi all, looking for genuine level-headed opinions from people who have tried to get a bit ahead, to get ahead differently. Sorry. Okay.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not functioning.
Looking for genuine, level-headed opinions from people who've tried to get ahead a bit differently. We've recently moved interstate into Queensland and are currently living full-time in a caravan with 2 young kids. Our house down south is rented out, and instead of jumping straight back into another residential mortgage, we're considering buying a commercial block to set up a storage-style business, caravans, boats, etc. It's 100+ acres, close to major rural hub. The thinking is use the commercial asset to generate income, keep personal living costs low, short-term, medium, build cash flow before locking into another family home. On paper, the numbers stack and demand seems strong locally, but it's obviously not the conventional path, especially with kids involved and commercial debt carries different risks than residential. The things we're weighing up: caravan living as a cost control strategy, not lifestyle hype, commercial versus residential risk and finance, cash flow versus comfort in the short term, building an asset first, home second, doing this without nearby family support. I'm interested in hearing from anyone who's delayed lifestyle comfort to build income assets, bought commercial property as a first or early move, lived cheaply on purpose to get ahead, taken a calculated risk that paid off or that didn't. The move of our business and family have left us a little cash poor currently, but asset LTV are very healthy and income and work in Queensland is excellent. What would you watch out for? What would you do differently? At what point does discipline and delayed gratification tip into unnecessary stress?
What do you reckon, Johnny boy?
Bit going on. So just the LTVR for the listeners, loan-to-value ratio, isn't it?
That asset, yeah.
Asset loan-to-value ratio, very healthy. Yeah. Look, are we using names here or just?
I don't know.
So, yeah, Jess it is, isn't it? So, Jess, in a lot of ways I'm reading that saying, personally I've done a lot of that. So you do you and don't be concerned about what the mobs are doing would be my first comment. Like caravan living as a cost control strategy, not lifestyle hype. Knock yourself out. If you want to live in a caravan, that's fantastic. Something different. It's just a time in life where you just look back and have some cool memories. Commercial versus resi risk and finance rates, you can probably talk to that and the differences there in lending. But, I mean, essentially pros and cons. Like if you're buying a commercial building or shed or whatever it might be, then it's really an investment. So it's not as if you're falling behind because you haven't bought your owner-occupied home.
Yeah, well, the commercial lending's not a bigger risk. It's more the commercial asset.
The asset,
if there's a risk.
100 acres plus close to major rural hub. I mean, they must be in regional.
But you in some ways you would look at that and say, well, 100 acres versus a residential block in town, the 100 acres may perform.
No, I mean, I'm actually in principle, like if there is demand to do caravans and boat storage, go for it.
Yeah.
I think what I'd probably be looking at is this question sometimes comes out because when people like Jess and her partner do things that are, 4D living in a 2D world type stuff, when they're talking to other people, it gets shut down because it's too risky. And like we're 3 business owners here, we inherently live in a different risk band or different risk spectrum than the average PAYG worker, right? Just like that's just a fact. So what I would probably encourage them to do, I was just like, if you're buying 100 acres, there might only be 4 that are usable. I don't know. That's a big plot of land to store cars and 4-wheel drives on. Like, you could start that business and fence off a 1,000 square meter section for storage and then grow.
Yeah.
The thing I would say is potentially, depending on what their situation is, can they buy that in their super fund? Or, and like, you definitely, well, I don't know, I'll probably recant that thought, but
Can't live in it.
they can't live on the commercial, but at least buy that asset not in their own name, in probably a unit trust, probably a family trust.
Yeah, there is that important side of it, isn't it, to just talk about the long-term planning of that asset.
Yeah, and most people do commercial later on in their strategy. I mean, we said all the time, the blueprint generally is you go residential, and maybe the fourth one is commercial, and you've got a lot more equity, because equity's the hard thing when it comes to commercial. But
also you've got a lot more risk practice.
Appetite, because you're happy for a bit of vacancy and things like that. But it sounds like they've got the equity side sorted. It's just about getting comfortable with the risks of the property and really understanding it before they make a move.
And in a lot of cases, storage is a real issue in a lot of areas. So there might be a great, fantastic opportunity here that they've got their hands on, and they've got no bad debt in their life. So that part, and probably speaks to what you've mentioned, Glenn, like they're talking about maybe doing this without nearby family support, building an asset first, home second. It's almost like it's don't go there. It's too much. Maybe they have spoken to people. It's like, the risks are too great there. But I actually don't see there's no bad debt here.
Yeah,
like
the only thing I would
producing.
say is don't ever sell that property that they own at the moment, just because that when you take risks, it's always nice to have a fallback position.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what they're doing for work, do we?
No, I think they've come from Victoria, didn't they? So it's south.
And they said there's plenty of work, so obviously it's not something they see as an issue.
Yeah. So my question, delayed lifestyle comfort to build income assets. Anyone who ever wants to get ahead will do that. And that could be from we buy $10,000 cars with cash and not have car loans, and we pump our mortgage or investment property or equity portfolio. You have sacrificed some comfort to build income. So that's normal. Bought commercial as a first or early move. Yeah, to Rachel's point, you'd usually roll up into commercial, but this is probably their second property. And
you'd almost see this as a business opportunity.
I'm seeing it more of a business.
Yeah.
But, can you lease the land and put an option to buy? I'll try and do that first maybe. Lease the land with an option to buy it, because if you build the business and it's humming along, then buy the land.
Yeah.
Because ordinarily, and I think you're right, this is more of a business question, you don't really want to, when you start a business, the business isn't the factory that you buy, the block of land, every new tradie wants a brand new car. That's not the business. So can there be a scenario, talk to the lawyers and go, we want to lease this 100-acre block, we want a 2-year lease, and we want an option to buy in 2 years, because that just removes a heap of risk. And if they can build the business up within 2 years, heck yes, we'll buy the bitch.
Yeah, or they just go right in and just get this thing done and adjust the 50 acres and use the other 50 for storage or whatever.
I don't know. Either way, we don't know if it's we don't know if it's a $2 million 100-acre or a 200,000 100.
Depends how far you are from there.
But yeah, I think I just wanted to flag that anyone who's done anything that is beyond normal will get a normal result, and that will get a beyond normal result. And that beyond normal result could be beyond normal really good or beyond normal not so good. And that's with the whole risk spectrum. And that's why if we need to look at minimizing risks, maybe the lease is a thing. But yeah, I'm all for it. But also, if you don't want to live in a caravan with your family, don't do it. And you just have to sacrifice future stuff.
Yeah, I think Jess is giving us permission for us to say go for it.
Yeah, I think some of these questions are like, I need permission from somewhere because I'm not getting that. in my local
Correct.
group of friends or family.
Like that last part, at what point does discipline and delayed gratification tip into unnecessary stress? Well, like I don't see it being delayed gratification. Maybe we want to live in a McMansion in the city, that's great, or in that town, but it's a lifestyle decision to do what you're doing. You've got discipline because you're looking at an opportunity like this. So, I don't think you just need to speak to the right people in legal, in finance and in business, and then combine all that together.
Yeah, I'm really glad that I didn't listen to the people in my life who told me not to take certain risks that I took.
So, but also you want to make sure that you're both on board with this. It's probably an issue if Jess's spouse isn't keen. But if you're both on board and the kid's like, yeah, sweet, whatever, we love living in a caravan, just don't turn into that redneck hillbilly living on the block. You know, there's actually, next door here, this is an industrial estate. The neighbour here, there's a dog that's in the yard behind. Like we can't see in, we can just hear it sometimes because we've got a big concrete wall. So the next block over, you know, there's a dog. If I go outside, the dog barks. Or if I walked up behind the bush, you look in, there's a dog. There's a caravan in there. Someone lives in there.
Right.
And like, I don't think they're living there because they want to build wealth. I think it's just a cheap place for one of the workers to live. So I think don't turn into that person that, I don't know, at the cost of living cheap. I'll finish my thought. Sometimes, and I don't think this is it, but there's some people who will send so much effort into living cheap, living in a caravan in someone's commercial industrial plot in Bennett's Green, just to have cheap living, but they've got actually no motivation to actually go and actually earn some money and say actually one more time. So I think that's I reckon go for it. What can go wrong?
Well, in finishing on that, like the numbers stack up according to Jess, so that's great. You've put some thought into it. And look at it as the repayments are your mortgage. Right? So you've got to live somewhere. And your commercial debt is your mortgage that's tax deductible at the minute because you're creating income out of it. So,
yeah, I always find it harder to get out of certain properties though as well. So you really have to look at not just the risk while you're in it, but the risk in getting out of it. What's the potential to sell if you need to get out? Because that's the difference with commercial and residential property as well.
Yes. Love it. Hey, it's Glenn here. Thank you so much for watching today's video. You made it to the end. Can I ask a favor? Can you hit that like button and maybe hit subscribe if you want to get notified when we release further videos just like this one, whether you watch the Money podcast or Retire Right. And remember, if you want to learn more about investing, I've got an investing book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, and there's a link in the description to get your hands on a copy. Thank you so much. Bye.